So we know that the Scotland has admitted they made a muck-up of their results and have now changed their system. England have announced what they're doing. We still don't know whether they're going to go along with which system in Northern Ireland and Wales. How do you feel, I'm sure you're nervous, whatever, about the new way you could approach the results you're getting tomorrow?
Well, I mean, everything's so turbulent. You were confused, I'm confused, everybody's confused. I'm really glad that the Scottish Government have decided to rectify the results. I think it was kind of a very immoral way of deciding the results. But I don't think basing your results on mocks quite cuts the mustard, if I'm honest, because mock results are so completely different to A-levels. They're an exam done in January. Think how much revision you could possibly do in between January and June, May and June. It's incredible. So I don't think it's an accurate reflection of what we could achieve. I think, is it Gavin Barton? I think he's the head teachers lead. He said that it was panicked and chaotic. And I agree with him. I think it's a decision made by the government at the 11th hour, which hopes to kind of shed some light on everything that's going on. But I don't think it will bring students the satisfaction that they desire when they open their results tomorrow morning.
So are you going to just open your results tomorrow, see how well they've done on the marks that you've been given, and then just pick whichever might be best? So if you look at your mocks and think, well, actually, I did better in my mocks, I'll go with that. Or if you're not happy with either, are you in a position to consider the third option and resit in autumn?
It's a lottery, isn't it? I mean, I don't think taking an exam in the autumn is really a viable option. I've never considered that, and really, to be honest, I don't think many people will. The time that we have had from March to now and to the autumn is, as I said, an incredible amount of time. We can't prepare for that with a global pandemic going on. Everything's so totally different. So really, I think the only viable option for students now is their mock result or their predicted grades. But even still, it's like we've been made a bargaining chip. First, it was going to be a combination of predicted grades, mock results, coursework, and teacher assessment. Then it was going to be predicted grades with standardization, and now it's going to be, pick your mock result or pick your predicted grades. It's like we've been totally messed around, and it's not a fair reflection of what we can achieve. Students aren't a statistic. Students aren't numbers. They're not something to fill a cohort's historical achievement. They are a individual who's worked so hard for the results, and they deserve to get the results that they want.
OK, thanks, Zach. Let's speak to Mohsin Ismail. Mohsin is the principal for Newham College at Sixth Form in London. Mohsin, just break this down a little bit. Just first of all, the grading system as it exists. Just explain that. How have you and lots of teachers and principals up and down the country, how have you been grading students for their A-levels this summer?
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me on your show. I think what you're hearing, that it is a completely difficult situation once you decided to get rid of the summer exams. Extremely challenging, and I think what we tried to do, or what Ofcom tried to do, was try to balance the credibility of the exam system and the integrity of it with the ensuring that there isn't an unfair prejudice to students. What was required by schools was to be able to give predicted grades for their students, but this wasn't just picked out of the air. You had to obviously look at previous assessments. You had to have a look at how your school had performed in previous years to ensure that you didn't have what you're seeing now in Scotland, and potentially what you would see if Ofcom didn't standardise and validate the test scores, which is in Scotland a 14% increase in results, and in England they were talking about a 12% increase in results for A-levels and roughly 9% for GCSEs. And I think if you don't standardise the results, you end up having grade inflation, and it causes it leads to question the credibility, integrity of the of the examination system.
But just on that note, mostly. But the point we were hearing from Scotland is that yes, basing them on previous results and previous years, but then outstanding students that have gone against the grain, if you like, may well be penalised and disadvantaged in that situation. No.
I think you're absolutely spot on this. This was never going to be a perfect system, and what you have now is that I think you'll see at a cohort level or a school level. I'm expecting my results to be similar to what they've been in previous years, if not better. But inevitably, as you've highlighted, there are going to be individual cases where we know that students pull it out of the bag on the exams, and that's just not going to happen. But I think what did take place is that there was now a mechanism where centres could appeal if they could demonstrate that they were with evidence that they should have got better results. And I think they were built in to ensure that, as far as possible, that there was some fairness in the system. I think what we've got now is this grade inflation, and now with this choose your grade whichever you want. I think by tomorrow it will be let the students decide what grade they want to go to university.
Kate Green, Shadow Education Secretary, I think that across the board everyone agrees this has been a messy situation and we've ended up with a messy solution. But what would Labour have offered differently at this point now to try and resolve it?
Well, it's a horrible situation for students to find themselves in, and I really feel for them and their families and teachers. I think the first thing that's missing that needs to be put in place is a really robust appeals system, so that if an individual student feels that his or her assessment is wrong, they individually could make an appeal. I don't think the mock exams are a reliable way of pointing on their own to a student's attainment. As Zach says, they're not a particularly accurate reflection of a student's achievement, and not all students will even have sat them. So I think a robust appeals process is a real prerequisite. I think it's helpful that the university's minister...
What criteria for appeal would you put on, for starters? Because everybody would appeal if they said this is unfair, wouldn't they? What would be your criteria?
I don't think everybody would appeal if you believe the schools minister, who seems to suggest that most students will be happy with their grades. But, appeals mechanisms exist in Scotland for individual students. The point is, at the moment, an individual student can't appeal. A school could appeal if it thinks overall that its past record unfairly reflects on the performance that's been assessed. But I'm talking about the ability for an individual student who feels that something has gone wrong with their assessment to know how to appeal, to have the support to do so. And at the moment, that really isn't properly in place. And I also think it's really important that universities and colleges take a flexible approach this year to looking at these assessments. The universities minister has asked them to do that. I think they should be mandated to do it. And for GCSEs next week, particularly in English and maths, which are absolutely crucial to a student's future, we are saying nobody should be downgraded below grade 4. That's the old grade C, because that really closes off opportunities for future worker study. And that would be really unfair to this COVID generation.
Larissa Kennedy, president of the NUS. I mean, literally in about 3 or 4 weeks' time, we're going to hopefully see thousands of students moving across the country in a pandemic to other places, setting up home in a new university. The fact is, the whole UCAS system is now thrown into question, isn't it? Because, from my understanding, UCAS already have the results. So they already have the results. This is based on the grading system that the schools have already agreed to do, the government system already. But now, from tomorrow, lots of students go, well, actually, I don't want you to base my results on the grading system. I now want you to base them on my mock results. So their UCAS are now going to have to really look at all those spaces they've allocated. I mean, it's complete chaos coming our way in the next few weeks, isn't it?
It is chaos. It's a completely shambolic attempt at a quick fix approach from the Westminster government, and it actually doesn't reflect the issue at hand. The reason that the Scottish government have done this U-turn is because we saw the trend where, students from the poorest postcodes were being downgraded at twice the rate of their most affluent peers. So this quick fix attempt doesn't actually redress the way that inequality was baked into that system. It kind of just tries to gloss over that. And it really is an embarrassing attempt from the government to try and cobble together something when they've completely messed this up.
And the other problem is that the option of resitting in the autumn, if you're not happy with the grades either from your mocks or from the one that's been given to you, It is also, I think, problematic for people with smaller incomes and smaller opportunity for money, because you've then got to fund another year potentially of being a student. You can't necessarily get into work, and youngsters that have already lost massive chunks of their education are potentially going to lose more.
Yes, we're seeing these awful trends for this generation of students. You know, we've got students at the moment graduating into a recession on the way. These students kind of looking to head to university now are looking at a really bleak time. It's really, really difficult. And I think there is so much precedent for accepting the fact that, you know, we're within a global pandemic. We want all students to be doing well, and actually taking this as an opportunity to redress the issues and inequalities in the examination and assessment system. But instead, the government's kind of dug their heels in and decided, actually, we're okay with the way that inequality sits within the system, and actually we're going to reproduce it. And that's just not acceptable.
So what are you advising people getting their results tomorrow and over the next week with other results to do?
At the National Union of Students, we really are urging people to fight for the grades that they deserve. Do not feel disheartened. You know, we have seen the way that Scottish young people, Scottish students have stood up for their right to the grades that they deserve, and we need to do the same here across England, Northern Ireland and Wales.
OK. Thanks very much, Larissa, and thank you, everybody. Zach, just very, very quickly, what are your, based on your mock results at the moment, what could you be getting tomorrow if it was your mock results, which I'm sure you probably already know them, don't you?
Yeah, so my mock results were A star AB, which is very good, but I think that my predicted grades were higher.
So you're hoping to improve on that tomorrow, are you?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Oh, well, good. I'd be happy. I'm not even going to tell you what I got, but I'd be very happy.
I wouldn't mind retrospectively having your mock grades, let alone the predictive ones. Well done. You've obviously worked very hard, as so many students have, as so many youngsters
Absolutely.
have. And just good luck to them, not just with the results, but in working their way through this situation.